Okay, Dan, here you are. Okay, Dan, here you are. I'm giving you a shot of our table. Mom, Max. Dad sitting there and got up once he saw me start to videotape. Andrew, Mike, Sue, Steph as I pan around the table. His sister Michelle, it's getting awfully dark. So I'm hoping this comes in. Back around, your brother David. That's where I'm sitting. And my wife. Oh, you're fine. Go ahead. I just want to let you know how close you would be to Stan Musial, who is right there. You can't see, but he's from the back. Over there, bent over in the corner, that with his back to you eating is Whitey Herzog. And from my seat, there is Joe Buck.
She goes, I want you to go over there and just take
the rest of the dais.
Take some food off your,
Andrew's head.
Off your table.
There is Mr. Thompson.
Think about it. It'll be a story that they'll tell the rest of their lives.
Kids, look at this. This is what a lifetime of chlorine and playing naked water polo will do for you. I mean, does this man look fantastic? The best looking man in St. Louis, and you're what, 58? Let's all get this straight. The guy's going to go out of office in 2 months. It's Ortballa. Ortballa. Everybody say it on 3. 1, 2, 3. Ortballa. I made that mistake at the Sports Personality of the Year Award, and you will never let me live that down. All right, I want to say one thing before I try to be funny and amusing, and we get this program rolling and get to the heart of the matter, which is why you guys have shown up here tonight. A record number, I might add. I've been at these ceremonies before. They've always taken place in the afternoon, and Don is too proud to pat himself on the back and the entire committee, but there has never been a crowd like this, so congratulations and thanks for coming up. I'm going to introduce a couple of people that are in the audience tonight, special people that took time out to be with us here at the Missouri Athletic Club a little bit later. But before we go any further with this program, I want to introduce the Fire Commissioner in Chief, the St. Louis Fire Department, Sherman George, who is down here. Sherman, he told me up on the 4th floor, just before we came down here, that they just got a new fireboat, and they are naming the fireboat Jack Buck, which is a thrill for our families. And as Sherman said, your father did so much work for Backstoppers, and as I started to go down the path a little earlier, I want to take a moment just to be serious for a second and say that one of the last stories my dad ever told me before he was at the Sports Personality of the Year Award dinner 2 years ago, or 2 award dinners ago last year, which was his last public appearance. He was in the hospital to get a checkup, which is when he found out that he had the lung cancer, which started the entire process. And when he was in the hospital, he saw one of the hospital workers, a female, over in the corner kind of upset, crying, and as only Jack Buck could and would do, went over and talked to her and tried to find out what was wrong with her. And she said that her son was a police officer, and just the night before had been face-to-face with an armed robber's revolver, pointed right into the forehead of her son. And she said that the story he told her when he called her when he got home was that at first he was scared, and then when he looked up, he saw the gun pointed at his head. He instantly thought of the Backstoppers. He thought of the work that my father had done for the Backstoppers, and he knew that if he was to meet his fate that moment, that the Backstoppers and all the good people that do so much terrific work with them would take care of his wife and his kids. And I can't think of any better endorsement of the Backstoppers than that. So for all that you do, thank you very much. Being here at this centennial celebration celebration is exciting. I know looking out, I see an interesting cross-section of the membership here at the Missouri Athletic Club. Some young, a lot old. So let me start this over. Hello, my name is Joe Buck, and welcome to the dinner tonight. Just kidding. Come on, lighten up. Jeez. I got a chance to speak the other day in Clayton, and this is the truth, to a group of stockbrokers, which is about like talking to the Cincinnati Bengals season ticket holders. And so it's just a pleasure to be out of that situation in more of a friendly environment until the last 28 seconds. When they asked me to come speak, I thought, well, this was going to be different. Instead of being the master of ceremonies, I was going to be the featured speaker. And I said to Jerry Orbola, I said, Jerry, look, I'm a young guy. I'm trying to make a living. I'm taking time out from being with my family. I drummed it all up. I told this sad story. I said, let me just ask you point blank, and I'm comfortable doing it. Will there be any remuneration for me coming to speak? And he said, no, you can talk about anything you want. So this is the man that's running this club. I know we're handing out awards tonight. I wanted to hand out an award of my own, and it goes to Wayne Hagan, the new Cardinal radio announcer, and the award is, you have no idea what you just got yourself into working with Mike Shannon. I cannot wait. I absolutely cannot wait for the first time Mike does one of his patented, forget left field, out of nowhere statements like he did. I swear to God, as sure as I'm standing here, 3 years ago, Thomas Howard was with the Cardinals, and we were in Houston. And I remember this as clear as yesterday. Thomas Howard is on at first base, and they're holding against him, and we're on the air, and Shannon says, Joe, I don't know why they're holding Thomas Howard on at first base. Pause. Pause, and then you know you're dead, and Wayne will find that out. Pause. I mean, he hasn't stolen a base since. Pause. Pause. The neurons are firing, and they're fighting each other in his head. It's just, there's dead air. He hasn't stolen a base since. Pause. Pause. The Jupiter invasion. I swear to God. I swear to God. And then what's worse is he goes, right? Absolutely. It's a big moment in all our lives. And attack us all. I know that some of the award winners are in the elder set, so the Missouri Athletic Club has gone to absolutely no expense. And up to 5 men, we're going to have Ann Keefe jump out of a cake. Which really should get the blood flowing. That'll be fun. And you're all invited. I got a chance to look at the list of the attendees and the award recipients, and I will look down the list. I noticed the names of a lot of my father's very best friends in the world. A couple I will introduce to you in just a moment. I saw Stan's name on there. Actually, when I agreed to do this, wasn't aware that he was getting the Athlete of the Century Award. He still isn't aware that he's getting the Athlete of the Century Award. So don't tell him. We're going to surprise him later with that. And how about the jacket? Huh? Is that fantastic? What nobody knows is I got that at my dad's estate sale for $8. Just great. It's like looking at Dad right there. To be serious about it, Stan Musial is, when you get a chance to get into the profession of being a sports announcer, and you get a chance to be around a lot of these professional athletes, you want to look at them kind of with one eye closed, because you really don't want to look at the entire package. You don't want to see all the scars. You don't want to see all the nicks and scrapes on these guys and the character flaws. This guy there has been nobody in the history of the world, I defy anybody to tell me that there's been anybody in the history of the world that's been better at what he does as a craft, and he was an artist with a baseball bat in his hands, but has been more consistent as a human being from day one. He is the gentlest, most kind, and for my father, one of his most dear friends, always showing up at the hospital, always bringing cards to hand the nurses to give them his autograph, and I'm sure my dad got a little extra care after Stan Musial walked out the door. He is an absolute prince living in our midst, and it's just a pleasure being here to honor him. And then there's Whitey Herzog. Where's Whitey? Right here. This guy, my dad was tough to please, believe me. Not as a kid, but as somebody in a profession to accomplish things where my dad would really take a step back and be in awe. And I know that my father was in absolute awe of the mind that Whitey Herzog possessed and possesses. He is a steel trap. And I was standing there the infamous day when Whitey had his 10-year anniversary as a Cardinal manager, and my dad was doing his pregame interview, which was supposed to last 5 minutes. And why did he do that? I think he was just pulling my dad's leg. But my dad said, Whitey, it's been some kind of 10-year run for you, hasn't it? And I swear to God, he went through every year from his first year in St. Louis. He had dates of when they made acquisitions. He knew who they got, when they got it, where they were in the standings when they got it. And I'm talking 10 years prior to that moment. And I think people in St. Louis still pine for him to be in the corner of the dugout wearing number 24. And by the way, that had to make you feel good when Bobby Bonilla was wearing that number. The best thing Bobby Bonilla did for the Cardinals was get hurt so Pujols could make the team. Whitey Herzog is with us. Come on around. If you're a friend of Stan's and Whitey's and anybody that's been a part of baseball in St. Louis, a gentleman by the name of Roy Sievers, who was going to come here tonight to honor Stan, longtime American League player. You can look at his numbers and stack them up with some of the greats of the game. He came down with the flu, and of course, Stan, I say this to you from him. Congratulations from Roy Sievers for your award here tonight. And finally, Bob Bragg. Is Bob in the house? Where's Bob? Can't get Bob Bragg a better seat than that. What's that?
I can't go back on the ball.
You can't go back anywhere, but you're close to the bathroom back there. That's good. There's another guy who day after day. How's your dad? How's your dad? These are St. Louis treasures, and Bob Bragg has been foremost and forefront in the St. Louis sports scene for 60 plus years. Is that fair to say? 60 years? Huh? Is that right or not? I'm serious.
More than that.
About more than that? 7 years? Well, you're 80. Bob Bragg's here, his beautiful wife Lynn is here, so we thank them for coming. Thank you guys. A Hall of Fame for Bob Bragg. I want to see Bob Gronemeyer and Hall of Famer Bill Summers, who will present our first award tonight. Bring them on. Really had a lot of nice things said about you tonight. You always look fantastic. You're the best dressed GM, and he pulled a Bob Burns and fell off the stage earlier. This half of the room saw it, this half of the room didn't. But trust me, he took a dive about 45 minutes ago. But this guy's in such great shape, you can't even tell. Here he is, the GM, Larry Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Buck. Congratulations to all of the inductees. It's my pleasure and privilege to represent the 300 employees that work here every day in this wonderful institution. I congratulate Mr. Clooney, certainly, and the committee. Mr. Murphy, you're a good friend. I'm humbled by your remarks. You mentioned former manager Guffey, who managed this club from 1950 to 1975 for 25 years. You mentioned, and he's going on now, and Danny Barks, who started picking up towels and became the athletic director, and hell, now he watches basketball games, gets paid for it, and he's an honorary member. And I'm picking up towels. So it's kind of like what goes around comes around. If you read in your program this evening, you'll read that David Hemingway is being inducted for the Inspiration Award for overcoming an illness and becoming one of the MAC's most dedicated and distinguished swimmers. The illness that David overcame was polio. As a 17-year-old outstanding high school athlete, he and two other of his schoolmates were stricken with polio. And I would guess that this was probably sometime just closely before the Salk vaccine helped so many of us. But it didn't slow David Hemingway down a whole lot. I first met him through a telephone conversation when I was the general manager at the Milwaukee Athletic Club in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And he was the president of the club at that time, serving as president during 1991 and 92. And as the president, the club was in need of a manager, and he took it upon himself to lead that search and called me. And it was kind of a call out of the blue. I wasn't looking for a job. I was very happy at the wonderful Milwaukee Athletic Club, but I was inspired by his conversation and his sincerity and the love that I could feel that he had for this club. And it did arouse my interest. The other thing that inspired me, probably as much, if not more than anything, was the continued awareness and sensitivity that he had to my family, my wife Joanne, our young son Tyler at the time. He wanted to make sure that I knew that he was looking out for their best interest also, and knew that a career change would affect them deeply, and that inspired and affected me. Back to the swimming for just a moment. I did take the position, and when I did move into place, as Mr. Murphy mentioned, I do move around the club quite a bit. I pass through the athletic department every day, and at noon, Mr. Hemingway would be swimming these laps, lap after lap after lap. And because of his polio experience, he would be swimming with the upper half of his body while his two lower extremities dragged along behind. And I was inspired by that. There was an award given for the swimmer who swims the most miles in a year. David Hemingway won that award fully a dozen times. He started swimming, I think, seriously in 1968. And from 1968 to the year 2002, swam over 13,000 miles in our pool on the 5th floor. And just that kind of dedication alone, obviously, I think would inspire anyone. But he's been inspiring to the staff of this club. I know he's inspiring to his family. He's been a great inspiration for me personally. And I think the award for him this evening is very, very deserving. President David Hemingway.
I didn't want to accept this award. I don't understand it. But, and I can't thank whoever promoted it because they won't tell me. I think they're in a state of denial. But I do want to mention some people that are here because they mean a lot to me. And at our table is Joanne Thompson, the wife of Larry Thompson. The reason we had Joanne at our table is if Larry tried to escape, we would hold Joanne as hostage. Gus Lamack and Ginny Lamack are dear friends. Next, I'd like to recognize my kids because they mean a lot to me, and I don't know that I've inspired them, but they do mean a lot. My youngest son, Kevin, and his wife, Ann, my daughter, Stephanie, who, believe me, would rather be watching TV and Nickelodeon right now. My daughter, Susan, and her husband, Mike. Susan finally went to college, and she's graduating with highest honors from Maryville this year. Kevin, I haven't forgot about you. Mention that later. The next person is not here. It's my son, Dan. He's coaching Lincoln College. His team is in the national finals in Buffalo, New York right now. Dan tried to fly down and was somewhere between Buffalo and Chicago until they closed Chicago's airport, and so he hightailed it back to Buffalo. The next person I'll mention deserves a special sympathy. My son David is here from Cary, North Carolina, which is in the Raleigh-Durham area. David came in yesterday, Thursday. David's wife's birthday was yesterday, Thursday. We wish him well. My daughter Michelle and her son Andrew are here from Louisville. Mish founded a middle school last year and is doing very well. Andrew was quite distressed when he sent out on his email the night Louisville played St. Louis U, that Louisville was #2 and would be quickly #1 after disposing of St. Louis University. As you all know, the score was a little different. We've kind of made this the Charlie Wittenberg night. I'm going to cast a little doubt on that. My bride of 48 and a half years said to me when our son Kevin was a star at Webster in basketball that I finally have one that takes after me. And I said, hey, I played a little too. And she said, he takes after me. About 6 years later, we were up here in the gym, and Miss Hemingway started shooting baskets from the three-point line. She missed the first 4, and I was snickering. Unfortunately, Charlie, she made the next 12 in a row from the three-point line. I mentioned that to Charlie, and all of a sudden Charlie and Dan Parks said, we have a new rule. We'll have separate tournaments for the men and the women. I'm going to accept this award on behalf of my family, and I want to take about another minute, and then I'll be quiet, to also accept it for those folks who were blessed with some form of athletic ability, but then something came along and it didn't work out. And I speak of polio people, I speak of MS people, I speak of all people, including, and you probably don't know this, the general manager was a star halfback at Western Michigan at one time. All of these things were cut kind of short. But you know what? These people and the friends that I had who had polio, incidentally, one of them was Tom Holling, a past president here, all just played the hand they were dealt and didn't ask for anything else. And to those people, I also accept this award. Thank you very much.
David has been a good friend of me since I started doing these events at the Missouri Athletic Club back in the early 90s. So that was fantastic. Well done and well deserved. I want to bring to the microphone Charlie Schroeder, who is not only a Hall of Famer here for the sport of water polo, but the director of Water Polo Hall of Fame down in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. 100 years, the athlete of the century. It's right here. I'm going to bring back to the microphone Fred Hager and President Ort Ball. Introduction.
Mr. President, tonight it is my honor and pleasure to present one of my lifetime heroes for introduction to the Missouri Athletic Club Hall of Fame as our athlete of the century. Stan Musial would have been the first recipient of our Sportsman of the Year award had we given it while he was an active player. Unfortunately, he retired from Major League Baseball 8 years before we started the award. Stan became my baseball hero when I turned 12 in 1942. It was his rookie season when he hit .315 to help the Cardinals win the pennant in the World Series. He was part of the Cardinals' greatest outfield that season, along with center fielder Terry Moore and right fielder Enos Slaughter. By the next season, he would win the lead the major leagues in hitting and win the first of his 3 Most Valuable Player awards. In the 40s and 50s, he was part of a triumvirate of hitters who dominated the period: DiMaggio, Williams, and Musial. Compared with the other two, Stan could hit better than DiMaggio and field better than Williams. Think about it, over 22 seasons, Musial made a base hit every 3rd time he came to bat. Wow. And consistent, 1/2 of his then record at 3,630 hits were made on the road, and the other half at Old Sportsman's Park. When the Society for American Baseball Research, an organization of very knowledgeable baseball experts, picked the top 100 players of the 20th century, Musial was in the top 10. His nickname told it all. He was not Broadway Stan or Duke or the Splinter. He was known simply as the man. In Musial's entire career, he always brought honor to baseball and his family. He has remained throughout his life a model citizen and family man. As Jim Murray, the Los Angeles sports columnist, commented when Stan was not elected unanimously to baseball's Hall of Fame, some New York writers probably saw him coming out of Mass at St. Patrick's and couldn't bring himself to vote for a ball player that went to church. He was also patient. Stan was on the waiting list 2 years back in the 50s before he was able to join the MAC. Today, the Missouri Athletic Club is the most blessed club in the country to be able to elect one of its own, the greatest living baseball player, as its athlete of the century. Mr. President, as Commissioner Ford Frick said on the day Stan retired, here stands baseball's perfect warrior. Here stands baseball's perfect man.
Thank you. This is one of the nicest honors I ever received, and I appreciate the proclamation for the mayor. And if I was home in front of the TV now, I'd be fast asleep. As you noticed when I walked up here, I had a bad knee. And you know why I have a bad knee? I hit too many triples. I should have been hitting home runs like McGuire. But I'm happy to have my family here with me. Mrs. Musial, she's been behind me all the way. She worried about her family, took care of the children, raised a nice family. Well, we love you. a secretary of mine. She's been my secretary for 40 years, Pat Anthony. I'm happy that two of my best friends in baseball are here. One is Bob Bray. We traveled together with the Cardinals for 25 years. And Bob kept me abreast of everything how many hits I was getting. When I went to 2,000, Bob said, Stan, I think you can make 3,000. I said, Bob, 3,000. 3,000. So he kept me abreast of how I was doing every year. And I finally did get to 3,000. You know how many 3,000 hits are? That's 200 hits for 15 years. One other thing Bob Bray did when he was traveling with us in Brooklyn, and I did pretty well in Brooklyn. And Brooklyn fans were sitting close to the ball field. You could hear everything they were saying. After the few years, a lot of the hitting I did up there, as I start walking to the plate, the fans would say, here comes that man again, here comes that man again. And Bert was at the ball game with Leo Ward, and they said, what are the fans saying? So Bob kind of cut on to it, and Bob helped to give me my nickname. Thank you very much, Stan the Man. I had a friend here who's one of the best baseball men in history. Whitey Herzog. Let's give Whitey a nice hand. Baseball. He lived baseball. He could bring the best out of the ball players. He loved baseball, and I would say that Whitey Herzog was the best manager in the National League. Whitey makes it. I played 22 years for the St. Louis Cardinals. They're a great organization. They had great tradition in the National League. Through the years, we won 9 pennants. And I would say, next to the New York Yankees, the Cardinals have more fans throughout the country because of the teams we had, some of the players we had. Not only did we have great teams, we had great players. Frank Frisch, Hornsby, Johnny Meyer, Medwick, Rock, Flood, Gibson, Changies, Musial. I'm sure Ozzie Smith was in that category, just went into the Hall of Fame last year. I had 20 people of my family went up to the Hall of Fame to see Ozzie get inducted. They loved baseball, my family loved baseball, and talk about Mrs. Musial. She saw me play high school ball. She saw me play the minors. She saw every game, almost every game I played with the Cardinals in St. Louis. My wife was one of the greatest fans around. Lil, you really were. Now, after I retired from baseball, people used to ask me, what did I do in the wintertime? So I told him, I'm a fireman in the wintertime. I like to go to all fires. Fire doesn't bother me. Now, let me show you. Anybody have a match? Anybody have a match? Nobody have a match? Oh, here's a map. Yeah. Now watch this. Feel if my hand is dry. Is that hand? Feel my hand. That hand dry? That hand is dry. See, I get a nice hot fire and I go right through it. The fire doesn't bother me. How about Anybody tried that because smell that skin burning? You know, when I quit playing baseball, I was going to these charity golf tournaments around the country. And I used to go to Atlanta, Iowa. And Atlanta, Iowa was a great fun place. All the golfers would come up there at this golf tournament. And one night I was rooming next to Roy Clark, the country western guy, and he was a great baseball fan. All us country western guys, they like baseball. Conway Twitty, Charlie Pride, Roy Clark, they all own professional baseball clubs through the years. They love baseball, and I got to meet a lot of them. So one night, I was rooming next to Roy Clark, and he had his guitar with him, and I happened to have my harmonica. I never leave home with that. So I played a couple numbers for Roy Clark, and he said, "Stan, how about coming on Hee-Haw with me?" I said, "Hee-Haw, Roy, I'm an amateur. You guys are pros." He said, "No, come on Hee-Haw." So I went on Hee-Haw, and we played a song with one of the great harmonica players of all time, Charlie McCoy. He's from Nashville. Grandpa Jones and Roy Clark. We played a song. And then I jumped out of the cornfield. I just lived in my hometown in North Pennsylvania. I sang the song without practicing or anything. And we played for about an hour. I got Goober mad. Goober, you know, I got him mad because I wouldn't sign his baseball. But anyway, this program went on for about an hour without any practice. And would you, by any chance, anybody see that program? I've been concerned because you never had invited me back. But anyway, when I started playing my harmonica around town here, they have a great harmonica club here in St. Louis called the Gateway Harmonica Club. They're really professionals. They have harmonicas that big, that's why they twist them around. They go to hospitals, nursing homes, and do very nice charity work. So one Sunday they asked me to join them out in the nursing home on Highway 40. And when I play my harmonica, I like to concentrate, keep my eyes closed, hit the right notes. So it must have been about 100 people at this nursing home. And I got into my song. Halfway through the song, I opened my eyes. Half the people were sleeping. So I wake them up. I play loud and wake them up. So don't anybody
everybody's sleeping around here. Play. This is the baseball season. Now we're gonna everybody sing and play. Take me after the ball game. Take me after.